Welcome to Your Mind is Trying to Kill You podcast. Join your host, Alexandros and co-host Vincent Byrne as they walk you through the deepest recesses of the mind and how it operates. They discuss all the reasons why our minds persistently get in the way of our evolution, growth, and our success. But crucially, they also teach you what you can do to change your destiny. And now, here's your host, Alexandros.
Hello and welcome to the 19th episode of Your Mind is Trying to Kill You podcast. I'm your host, Alexandros.
And I'm your co-host, Vincent Byrne.
And today here, and when I say here is, where I am, but where Vincent is as well, is July 5th. We just passed July 4th, which everyone knows for the Americans is a really huge holiday. It's the day of independence. And celebrating independence is very pertinent to what we do here. But it's a different kind of independence. You see, we're celebrating the real independence, which is to say you're only independent if you can free your mind.
Every day is potentially Independence Day.
That's right, exactly. As it should be. A really good friend of mine said to me, he's been prompting me to watch all the superhero movies, right, that are so popular. And specifically, this is what he said to me. He said, you have to watch the Captain America movies. I said, "What? Why?" Well, he says, you being a conspiracy theorist, you would totally relate because it's all about that kind of stuff that you talk about. And I said, "Excuse me, it is Mr. Conspiracy Theorist to you, sir. How dare you? How dare you defamate my character, or as I say, defecate my character." That's my, which is a lot. It's a lot more of a, it's got oomph. They say if you say defamation of character, it's too polite, and it doesn't really talk about what exactly happened. I call it defecation of character.
Yeah.
And of course, I claim the trademark on this because no one else has said it. So there you go. So Captain America, then. So
did you watch it?
No. But I'm not going to say I'm not going to watch it. But every time someone starts talking about superheroes to me, which specifically in America, they are really worshipped. I would say superheroes is some kind of a religion, starting from Superman and Spider-Man or whatever, Batman, all these men. And then
the heroes coming to save us.
That's right. And then it's the girls too, like Batgirl or Superwoman or
Catwoman.
So this is what happens every time someone brings up this concept with me. I get upset a little bit. I get a little bit upset because knowing how the programming of the nations happen, knowing how the conditioning occurs, and of course, it occurs massively through media such as films and TV and music and all this. But specifically when it comes to Hollywood, it's there to pass on a specific subconscious agenda. And it makes me angry when I can clearly see what that agenda is. Now, people might hear this and say, Oh, come on. It's just too far-fetched, man. Even you should not go that far. I guarantee you, however, that's not the case at all. So, what does a superhero concept say to you? What does it say to anyone? I mean, what it's clearly saying to me, I don't have to do shit because someone is coming to save me, right? I don't have to take matters in my own hands when it comes to my own life. No, because someone is here to save me. And that someone, I would say, for most people in real life, becomes the government. So people realize this is why, the whole politics thing. Of course, politics is really a sore issue for every nation. And it's, everybody gets really upset about this side and that side. And because everyone believes that whatever side that they adhere to is there to save them, and it has their best interest in mind, right? Now, knowing what I know, I have to quote my grandfather. When he was exposed to concepts like that, he had a very magical word specific. Do you know what that word is, my friend?
No.
Bullshit. So, no, I will have to say, the people that it is that we're here to help embrace their inner power, build up their inner strength, become their magical self more and more every day in every way. These are not the people who are looking to their government to give them stuff in a way that a little kid is asking daddy or mommy to get them, please, can you give me ice cream? I'll be good. I'll do all my chores. Right?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think going back to the Industrial Revolution, I think that kind of created a concept where, it created a number of concepts, retirement being one, which is always one that I've had a problem with. But retirement back then was when you were effectively on the scrap heap, because they couldn't get any more out of you. But the idea of you needing to have a large organization, a large factory or whatever, who gave you a job, kept you in that job for 50 years, whatever, until they then threw you out, created a mindset amongst people who had previously, to a large extent, kind of fended for themselves. They'd worked the land and they'd been various craftsmen. But then when the factory came in, it created this sense of dependence on this wealthy factory owner. And it's like as if it's fostered a mentality which has continued down through the years. Because I remember back when I left school, I didn't go to college. I went straight in to study accountancy. But the options at the time were, if I didn't go to college, was I should get a job in the civil service, or I should get a job in the bank, or in one of the semi-states, the electrical company or whatever. And that once you did that and you got in, then you were in for life. You were set for life. And that was the kind of attitude, which never sat with me at the time, but lots of people took it. And you hear a lot of that narrative coming through when you see factories and organizations laying off staff. Like you see at the moment, who is it? The airlines laying off lots of staff at the moment as a result of the virus. And it's like this big brother or big father figure laying these helpless people off. And what are they going to do? Because they're now been rejected and been put on the scrap heap temporarily. And it sets up this, it doesn't set it up. It's all been created because of the fact that this mindset with which people took these jobs was set from very early on, which is that you need to get into one of these places and you will be looked after. So I think that's why people, when they lose their jobs, they look to government to pay them unemployment benefit. They look to sort out healthcare. They look to sort out all kinds of benefits, principally because people's expectation and the message which is coming from the governments as well as the large organizations, is that we will provide this if you toe the line and if you play the game. So I'm with you. I mean, I think to me, there's a conflict between the narrative around the superhero stories and the hero's journey stories, where the superhero stories is that someone is going to come and save you, where the hero's journey story is you find your inner power and then you go and do the saving and you go and do the helping and the supporting. So I think I never thought of it until you put it forward as a suggestion for our conversation today, but it is a real contrast in terms of how Hollywood presents things. And it's funny, there are far less of the hero's journey stories than there are of the other ones. The cavalry was always coming. John Wayne was always coming over the hill. There was, it's been right from the start, the Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and, all these people who are coming to save you. Even dogs, Lassie's going to come and save you.
That's right. It is exactly like that. And talking about the hero's journey is actually an excellent point, because this is what we're here to promote. We're promoting the engagement within the hero's journey, rather than saying, stepping into that kind of territory is too scary. It is too dark. It is too dangerous. It is too risky. So I'm just going to sit here, and I have that option to sit here and do nothing about it, because guess what? My government, my daddy is going to prevail. My daddy is never going to let me die, never gonna let me be destitute, never gonna let me be sick. I mean, look, now we're like in the middle of a pandemic, sort of, I guess, because the status changes every other day. But you see people looking to the government. Please, God, government, what should I do now? Right? I mean, what is it? What is it that we can do to be safe? Now, not nobody, but most people don't want to. Not only do they not want to think for themselves when it comes to, their own lives, they don't think it's proper. They don't think it's appropriate to think for themselves. Because who are they to be thinking for themselves? They haven't done the work. They don't know anything. There are experts out there, my friend. And who are you to tell yourself how to live your life? You're a nobody, right? This is, if you start understanding the connotations and the subconscious messaging that comes out of this bullshit, that's exactly what it says. Once again, what does it say? It says you're too insignificant. You are nothing. You're an asshole. You are a complete non-entity. You don't matter. Shut the F up.
Yeah.
I know I can. Yeah. I can curse on here, but I prefer not to, because I'm a classy guy.
You are. And there's also the other one is that which kind of layers on top of that, is that if you shut up and if you play the game, then we'll take care of you.
Right.
And that message comes across all the time. And yet, when it comes down to it, in terms of the taking care, there's always strings attached. There's always some kind of problem. I mean, as I said, it ranges from, healthcare, which ranges in the way in which it's provided. I know in the States, it's a sore subject in that what's provided is, relatively speaking, a lot less compared to, say, what is provided in many countries in Europe. And yet, when you engage with the system in Europe, you find that what it says it does and what it actually does can be hugely different. And The difficulty with all of this, which it's one of my bugbears, is that it promotes the development of an entity, a kind of a sprawling entity, which is the public service. And while there are many aspects of the public service that is extremely, like, the people there work extremely hard and they're very focused on what they do, the way that it operates allows for 60-70% of the people who are in those organizations to get away with playing the system. And they end up then, this we're looking after you piece is actually lots of people within those systems looking after themselves.
Right.
So you have the public service, large numbers of people looking after themselves and not really giving a shit about the people that it's supposed to be serving. And then you have politicians who, for the most part, on either side, you wouldn't put them in charge of, as we say here, a piss up in a brewery, because they, like, most of them here are career politicians. They've never actually done anything. They've never created anything. They've played the game. They've gone to the right universities, etc. And then they present themselves for election and they have the machine behind it, and then they get elected, and suddenly they're making decisions about everybody's life without having justified it on any level with experience and knowledge prior to that. So this is the system that we're looking to take care of us, if you buy into that. So because of all of that, my view has been for a long time that you really got to look after yourself. And I don't mean that you got to, go out and get your gun and hole up and if somebody's coming for me, I'm going to, fight my corner. I mean, to actually come at it from a place where I'm going to learn what I need to know. I'm going to develop myself. I'm going to grow myself. I'm going to create something of value. And from that, I will be able to look after myself.
Right, exactly. Now, there's a couple of different layers here on that thing, because you talked about the government being largely irrelevant in enforcing the job of doing it for you. It's like don't worry about it. Just sit back, have a beer, fire your fireworks, and we'll take care of it. Right? Don't concern your little head, your pretty little head, about all these bullshit details, because it's just too complicated. Just sit back and enjoy. So, but why? Why does this happen? And there's a twofold why this happens. Because clearly, number one, nobody needs you. It's like, for example, someone says, you know what? You don't have to go out there and fish. You don't have to learn how to fish. You just sit back there. Pay me this amount of money, and I'll bring you the fish every day. Of course, in Western commerce, you would say, oh, there's nothing wrong about that. Sure, if I need the fish, I don't necessarily have to go out there and get it. But the problem here is that when I say fish, we're talking about something that sustains your life, something that you can do to build yourself up, to in order to sustain your life, in order to know what it takes for you to be alive, in a way that a free animal out there in the wilderness, or someone who actually lives in the wilderness, should know in order to stay alive. To be, a survivalist in some sort of way. The problem is that when the guy or girl who brings you the fish for a nominal fee decides, I'm not going to do this anymore, or they just expire all of a sudden, now you are left to your own devices, because the money, even the money you were giving them to get these goods, in when the time comes, is not even going to be good enough, because no one's going to care about the money. Everyone's going to care about, what you want to come over to. Let's say that, this whole pandemic thing, let's just say, for the sake of an example, that the world went to, what do they call it? The shit hits the fan, right? Situation. Then people, the ones that survived the first wave or whatever it is, and let's say that government is not operating anymore. Let's just say, just for the sake of argument, okay? I'm not advocating this is what's going to happen. What would happen in the next wave? The people that had any kind of know-how on how to create a sustainable living would gather together. You would see groups of people creating little sustainable communities, right? And then if you wanted to be part of that community, you couldn't just march in like, hi, I got $100, because nobody would give a shit.
Yeah.
They would need to know, oh, what do you know? What can you offer this group that would make you valuable? And you see, it doesn't need to get that extreme for people to understand how important it is to be that kind of person. Because this is who you are for yourself, my friend. This is what you come here to do. Once again, the mission. The mission is to become a person that is as grand and as magical as possible and knows how to stand on their own 2 feet. Without needing, someone to hold them up, to prop them up. And of course, on another note, when you let the government do that for you, it's not even done properly, right? Because they're ripping you off. The benefits, the unemployment benefits that you get, they're not free. The government is they're like, look, you're my kid, and for that reason, hey, what are you going to do? I have to support you. No, I'm sorry. That's not how it works. How it works is they keep on pimping you your entire life, right? All this money bleeds out of you into the pockets of the government, whatever, how you want to define that. And then it's just like insurance. It's like just an insurance policy, right? Why do you think insurance companies are so plentiful and they're doing so wonderfully well? Why? If they're there to help you, I tell you why. Because they suck your blood all your life, and the one instance that they have to pay up, what they're paying is peanuts compared to what they've gotten back. And everyone, you don't take my word for it. Look what happens if you have a car accident. Look what happens to your insurance next month, right? Because it's not even like, oh, Mr. and Mrs. Insurance, I've been paying you up the ass for 10 years now. I had one accident, okay? I've already paid this 100-fold. Why do you need to further increase my fees next month and for however many years down the road? You know why? Because they are pimping you.
Yeah.
That's why.
And that's assuming they pay out and haven't found some way of getting out of the payment as well. Yeah.
So the superhero doesn't give a shit about saving you. You know why? Because a superhero doesn't exist. Because that superhero, in order to exist, he needs to come from inside of you. And that's a great mission to have. That's a great goal to have, because that superhero exists inside of you. It doesn't exist outside of you. No one can provide that kind of service for you other than yourself. Yeah.
Like, I remember hearing the phrase the first time, the guy who wrote the book that Will Smith played. Do you remember the In Search of Happiness or no?
I don't remember what it was called, but I don't know. So.
Yeah. And the guy who wrote the book, again, I can't remember his name. I think it was Chris something. I remember reading a book that he wrote afterwards. And one of the things he said, I'd never heard the expression before, was something that his mother used to say to him when he was watching these old Westerns, black and white Westerns, when he was growing up. And there was the hero or whatever was in danger, and the next minute over the hill you'd hear and the cavalry would have would arrive on the horizon, and the Indians would be overrun and everyone would be saved and all that sort of stuff. And his mother used to say to him, "You stop looking at that." She said, "The cavalry ain't coming. The cavalry ain't coming. You got to work from the cavalry ain't coming." That's a terrible accent, but that was basically the message. And that's it. I mean, you have to operate from a place where, if I assume that in order to get myself out of the current position, that no one is going to come along and sort it for me, no one is going to do me a favor, then that puts you in a position where you either have to take responsibility or you curl up and die, basically. And for most people, once they get over the message that here are the facts, they are what they are, and nobody's coming to save me, most of the time people find it in themselves to start moving forward from there. Because it's the lies and the hope and the, well, someone will help me and all this kind of stuff that usually keeps us stuck for far too long. And I've been in that place numerous times over the years. And it's taken several times for it to happen before I finally got to the point where I said, you know what, I can't do this anymore. It wasn't that I was expecting someone to come and sort it out, but it was like I was expecting there to be a resolution, which was a lot easier than I believed it should be. So having a tough solution and having to take some tough action, I was avoiding that because I thought it could be done easier. And I think when you get to the point where you go, I can't rely on anything else. I've got to take action. I've got to move from here. All of a sudden, your concerns, your fears, they don't turn out to be anything like what they were when you were making it up in your head. They typically fall away and you typically find solutions. But we're not trained or conditioned to do that. We're not trained to find solutions. We're trained to and conditioned to listen to what other people tell us and then operate from there. And that's why, I mean, it's a long-held view. That's why we don't self-actualize. That's why we don't really reach our potential. But when we see other people who are doing it, and this is where I think the superhero comes in, we kind of like looking at people who have, the story is that they fought against adversity and then they found this power and then they put on this suit and then they go saving people. We like watching that, but it's like, yeah, we'll watch it because somebody else is doing it and we like to admire them, but we don't really think that we can do it ourselves.
That's right. And this is irrational that we don't think we can do it ourselves, because the way that it's being portrayed is it's an impossible job. This is what happens when you're a superhero. It's an impossible job. So the subliminal message here is that even if you wanted to do that, you would be ridiculous. You would be like, what are you smoking, my friend?
Yeah.
You'll never be that person. So, shut the F up, sit there, like watch your Netflix, drink a beer, and let us do our job.
Yeah.
To save you.
Yeah. And the other thing as well is that while, obviously the superheroes in the movies are one thing, like there are a plethora of, in inverted commas, superheroes who aren't like that, but they're portrayed as being special and different. So you'll get Elon Musk up on a pedestal. You'll get Gary Vee up on a pedestal. You'll get Richard Branson up on a pedestal. And all of these people who, yes, they've done things. They've probably, in most cases, developed a lot of their own potential. But then as soon as that happens, they're put up there too. And they're seen as superheroes. And while they may not have the cape and all that and the mask, and they're not swinging out of buildings, they are revered in the same way, that they are somehow extra special and that we could never do that.
That's right. That's a perfect, brilliant point, because the same thing happens absolutely with all these people that then they be glorified and they are put on a pedestal and then they become the gurus. Right? It's the gurus. Oh, Deepak Chopra said blah blah blah, and now I was like, oh my God, it doesn't matter what he said because he said it. Now my life is shattered.
Yeah.
Right. And here's the thing. All these people that are very capable, very smart, and very blessed with the ability to come up with insights to then teach the crowds. They are, I will never say they're not necessary, right? They're great. But the problem is here that either consciously or subconsciously, these people end up becoming the guru. Now, nobody can convince me that Tony Robbins never wanted to be that person. You know, that thousands of people would just go like, it's like the Beatles just came to America. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't understand. I don't get it. What is it? I could say something, and I have, by the way, something, you know, that in some ways is a lot more profound about anything that Tony Robbins has said. But nobody loses their shit over what I said. Why? Because I said it, right? And who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
But so this is what it is. It's a cult of personality.
Yeah.
This is what's happening here, right? And everyone's like, oh, give me motivation. Master, give me some motivation. Look, what we're here to do, what I'm here to do, what I'm here to preach is that you should be freed, should be taken off. That we open up the cage, let that mind out, because no one will do it for you. Look, even if a Tony Robbins, you know, a Bob Proctor, a Joe Vitale, all these wonderful human beings, even if they wanted to have you be free, even if that's what their intention is, the way that they go about doing these things is that they keep on perpetuating this cult of personality. You know, join us for this masterclass that will ruin your life. It will be the most incredible thing you've ever experienced. Now, when I experience that, especially if I don't know, if I haven't explored my inner psyche, my subconscious blocks, my programs, any of that stuff, I go there and I see someone who just pushes my buttons 1, 2, 3, and I feel like, holy shit, how did you know that about me? You know what I mean? And then they become the new Jesus in my life. And this is why you see, once again, I don't mean in disrespect, right? That's not my goal here. All I'm saying is, if you have to go to a Tony Robbins seminar twice a year for 10 years in a row, then there's something wrong with that.
Yeah. It speaks to the thing that I think that's at the core of this is that, I mean, Tony Robbins and Joe Vitale and Bob Proctor, and, you know, we could name them and name them and name them. I mean, they're just doing what they're doing, and that's fine. There's no issue with that. And they have, you know, most of them have great intentions around what they want to help people with and what they want to teach people. I mean, you know, we're in our own individual and even in this podcast, in our collective way, trying to do something similar. We're trying to help people. We have a particular belief about what we're doing, and we want to talk and spread the word. So if that turns into a situation where thousands of people start, you know, paying to, you know, see us or do a course or whatever, then that's fine. But I think what we're saying here is that we are not the answer. We have a message, but we are not the answer to you changing your life. You are the answer to you changing your life. And while we may say something that's helpful, this hopefully and other stuff that we've shared, it's all down to you. So coming to see us twice a year for 10 years just wouldn't make sense. I mean, that's stalking, I think. Whereas if you think constantly coming and you need your dose of Tony Robbins or you need your regular top up of Bob Proctor, that's not good, because that means that you're dependent, which means that you don't believe that you can do this yourself. And what we're about is trying to convey the fact that you can do it yourself. You can be your own Bob Proctor. You can be your own Tony Robbins in whatever field that you choose to be in, because they got there by being nobodies to start with, and they becoming who they have eventually become by working at it and believing that they could do it. So that's all we're talking about here.
Right. And that brilliantly said, my friend. I couldn't have said it better myself. I'm at a loss for words.
You're in awe.
Which for me, this is
you've seen Jesus again.
Very strange condition. Look, that's exactly what it is. Now, here's another point. The reason why all these gurus are not the answer to your questions is because they can't be. They can't possibly be, right? Because if they were, then we would have to admit that human consciousness is a cookie cutter bullshit, situation here that you can just take it, multiply it, and duplicate it, and then treat it as if it were a science experiment. And you freaking can't do that. Why? Because we are magical. Because that's what it means to be magical. Because we are gods and goddesses. Because that means that every one of us is a unique snowflake. And I don't mean that in the flip.
Yeah.
way. This is totally true. You can. There's no recipe for you that can come out of me or that can come out of anyone's mouth. Even Jesus coming down and telling you, hey, you got to do that and you'll be cool. Now, of course, I know very many people would say, I will burn in hell for that. But I'm
too late for that.
I've already bought the ticket. This is why it's important for you to take these messages as pointers, as like, for example, like someone is teaching you how to do mountain climbing, right? Yeah. Exactly. These are do that and avoid those pitfalls and don't do it. This is the kind of gear that you get. And that's how you treat that. But you can't take these people up on that specific mission, climbing up Everest or wherever it is you want to go. They're not there. And guess what? All that they gave you was pointers that hopefully you can utilize and use to implement this knowledge into becoming a wisdom of your own that now becomes a program, and nobody can take that away from you.
But that requires, that example is a great example, but that requires the initial acceptance, desire, and intention to become a mountain climber or to climb the particular hill that you want to climb. So how do I do that? Just like, how do I learn to play the guitar? Who do I talk to that can teach me, give me the pointers? I practice it, I can do it. So we can kind of get our heads around doing things like that. What we don't seem to have our heads around as a race, I suppose, as a human race generally, because of this conditioning, is that we don't know what we are about. We don't know why we're here. So therefore, we need to look to somebody else to tell us why we're here. So it's like as if we approach that not from the perspective of I want to learn and I want to become. It's I'm really lost and I really hope someone can tell me. Mm-hmm. That's how we approach it. And that's why when we go looking to religion, we're approaching it like that. It's like, I'm not worthy to possibly have my own intentions or my own thoughts about how I should approach this. I just need to be told by someone. And then it goes to, I don't know how I should live my life or how I might become a great speaker or whatever it is I want to be. I need to go and speak to someone like Tony Robbins and have that approach to, rather than the mountain climbing one, which is, I want to become a great speaker. So who do I need to speak to teach me about this? Who do I learn from? Oh, I'll go and I'll watch Tony Robbins in action and I'll see how good he is and what he says. And do I need to know loads of stuff, or does he just keep spouting the same shit all the time and people keep coming back and paying for it? Oh yes, he does. So that's a good piece of information. So it's the sense that we need to embrace, we can be whatever we want to be, and then we can look to find out how it is that we become that thing, that person, by looking to guides and signals, or not signals, but information that we require along the way, like being the mountain climber. And we can do it at any level we choose. And some people get on with it and do it. That's why we have our Richard Bransons. That's why we have our Elon Musks. There are guys who saw it and they said, as Richard Branson says, screw it, let's do it. I mean, he's the first one to admit that he's no genius. He just had a go, and timing and luck and persistence and ballsiness and whatever got him there. And now he's up on a pedestal, and he doesn't even like being there, even though he likes the celebrity, but he admits that he doesn't particularly like the adulation piece. So the problem is, lots of people could have done it. Everyone could have done it the way that he did it. They wouldn't have all been successful, but they would have taken it by the scruff of the neck and had a go and lived the life as fully as they possibly could. But he's an exception in that respect. And I suppose what we're trying to say is that where people have told you that you just need to toe the line and people will look after you, you need to say, no, not doing that. I want to be my own Richard Branson. I want to be my own Tony Robbins, and I want to create the life that I want for myself. And I can do it. If he can do it, I can do it. Because you know what? He's nothing special. But I suppose with this, and while we're saying, okay, guys, this is what you should be doing. Take in the cap. You don't have to look for stuff from other people. Put the cap on your head. You don't need to hold it out so people would give you stuff. What's the first step? What after we've told people to wake up and start taking responsibility and create the life they want. And I know we'll have covered this before, but let's just cover it again.
Absolutely.
First step.
I'm down to covering this in some way, form, or form on every single episode. And why not? Yeah, this is what the whole reason why we're having this podcast is. So this is how, in a very practical way, this is how I treat this kind of stuff. By the way, my desire for this is very similar to anyone who I have helped with hypnotherapy to overcome certain obstacles. Okay? Zero number of these people turned me into a guru or a teacher. They have gone on to create incredible lives. All of them, they have overcome their obstacles. They have overcome the programs, and they don't even need me anymore. It's so sad.
That's a bad business model.
but I mean, when we get to the point of helping people do that, then this will be my personal kind of like heaven. Is, you know what? Everyone needs that. If someone comes to me and says, yeah, I'll give you $1,000 to help me free myself, okay, I'll take that. Yeah. And now I will do that which you asked. And freeing yourself means not having to come back to me in 6 months and be like, oh, how do I free myself again? You know, I have freed myself, but can I have some more freedom, please? So that's the bottom line. So practically how I do this, what do you need? What do you want? What is your desire? If I want to find out how to, for example, I've been really investing energy and money into being a homesteader, for years now, progressively, because it's a process. Excuse me. So if you want to do that, I want to be a homesteader. Let's say that's your desire. First, you have to be sure that this is what you want. And how are you sure? If someone told you, oh, it's going to take you 5 years to do that, and you're still like, oh, okay, all right, let's do it. Then you're good. You know what I mean? If what you want, and that's not to say that you can't get it done in 6 months. That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying if you're willing to do this, if someone tells you it's going to take you years to do it, then that means you're on the right path. Because the force that is leading you is that inner guide that knows that this is going to be tremendously awesome for you down the road. It's going to help you in so many different ways, not just in one way. So if I want to be a homesteader, right, and I'm asking myself, hey, why do I want to be a homesteader? The first answer that comes to mind is I want freedom. I don't want to be depending on anyone. I don't want to know that if the supermarket says, whoops, all the farmers are like, fuck it, we're not doing this anymore, or all the crops are burned, or, pandemic, or E. coli, or whatever.
League of Locusts.
Yeah. So now I'm sitting there with my thumb up my ass, right? Oh my God, I'm going to die. So I don't want to have to deal with that. I want to know. And of course, that is not fear-based. This is something that tells me I need to validate that I have a right to be on this plane as a sovereign human being, because I got something to offer. I can help someone, right? I'm not just a dead weight. And if you're a lover of socialism, you'd be like, well, you can have someone in your boat that is disabled. And of course, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Of course, we help the disabled people, this. But here's my question. Who amongst us in a sinking boat will allow everyone to be in the dark ocean unless they have the dead weight go? I'm sorry, I'm not a cruel human being. I'm saying this is what this is natural law. So it is my duty to do everything I can for myself to be as independent as I possibly can be. So then I say, yes, now I know I want to be a homesteader. I want to be independent. When you're independent in your thought, when your mind is independent, then everything else around you tends to want to follow that same rule, because in a similar fashion with the law of attraction, when you have resolved and released all the programs that tell you that it's not okay to be abundant, or it's not possible, or whatever it is holding you back from realizing, actualizing, materializing what it is that you want in your life, then once it happens on the inside, it reflects on the outside in every single way. So now that I know that my mind is independent, I that reflects into my outer world, which is my life, my everyday how should I say that, material or practical, however, life, right? Existence. So I need to be independent. So now the next question is, what do I need in order to be independent? What do I need to know? What do I need to implement? And what is, like, can I make a greenhouse? What kind of climate am I dealing with? How can I do that properly? So every day, as I'm researching and implementing this kind of stuff, I'm becoming more powerful. I'm becoming more of a superhero. I'm becoming more every day than I ever was before. And so taking simple steps one at a time will very soon get you to be at a place where you won't recognize yourself anymore.
So, but the bit, like, if you take, some people may not want to be a homesteader, so they just want to be the best, or they would like to move out of a situation where they're in that bank job or that civil service job, or they've had the cap out and they've played the game. And another one, we didn't mention them, but the unions have had a huge part in maintaining that culture of dependence as well. Rely on us, we'll sort you out, and stay a member and fall into line. But once someone decides that they would like to actualize themselves, they'd like to stop looking for the handouts. I mean, what is the shift in consciousness or mindset that gets them from a place where they're in that trap to a place where at least they've turned around and said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I want to be my best self. I want to go in a direction which allows me to direct the rest of my life on my terms and the way that I want to live it, without the sense of dependence on a welfare state or other people supposedly looking after me. How do I make that initial shift?
I would start with an affirmation. And that affirmation in this case is, I am capable of providing for myself and my family. I am capable of finding ways to provide for myself and my family without needing to have a handout, without needing anyone else to be that provider. But I am that provider. So you start with that, and then you scan within you, in what way would it serve you best?
Yeah.
To actualize that, to materialize that, right? If I want to be a provider, in other words, I have a couple of different ways to say that this is how I want to do this, right? I want to do this by being able to help people free their mind. I want to do this by creating, and creating starts with this, and then it expands into other categories, such as my actual artistic expression, my music, all this kind of stuff. So everything, all this stuff comes together now to help me release myself from the chains of the, you have to work for me, otherwise, if I don't like you, or if I can't sustain you, I'm just gonna let you go, and now you're a bum, being like, what am I gonna do now? Right? That's the bottom line, is that everyone, I don't care if you're happy, being an employee. For the sake of your own spirit, you should be always developing your inner gifts.
So even to start to develop sort of a side hustle of some sort, to start putting yourself into a position where you are the maker, the creator, the almost the employer, even if the only employer is yourself. But you're directing what's happening, as distinct from going in and working for somebody else. And so by practicing and by doing things even if it's not your main thing initially, you're starting to fuel that particular part of your spirit, the one which says, I can do this and I can direct things rather than be dependent on other people.
Absolutely. And I'll give you a small example, then we'll close, because once again, guess what?
Yeah.
My wife recently started being obsessed about learning how to bake bread.
Okay.
I watch these things with her because she's multi-talented, and she has all these outlets that she plugs herself in, and I'm always watching with interest. So I see her being like, oh, I'm gonna make this bread. The bread doesn't come out. God damn it! And she keeps on, listening to the podcast or watching YouTube or following someone who is a great baker. And guess what? Within like a month, she baked some kick-ass bread, that I've never had before.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, this is awesome. Now, is that something that can change a person's life? Absolutely. Because now she's already taking orders from, people locally, right? Around the neighborhood and in the community, because people see that. Oh my God, that's right. Facebook, pictures of, testimonials. This bread is fucking awesome. And people are like, well, how can I get my hands on one of those? You know what I mean? So am I saying she's going to be rich by that? No. Or I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
There's no way to know. But what I'm saying is that kind of conversation between your inner child, between your subconscious and your conscious mind happening so flawlessly, getting to a point of understanding that now I'm engaging in something that gives me pleasure. It doesn't just give me pleasure because I love eating bread. It gives me pleasure because I'm providing, right, for my community. And my community is nourished by this, and my community appreciates this. And now I've become a superhero in my own way.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's finding ways to build on that and adding piece by piece. And whether that's going down the extended rabbit hole of bread making, or whether it's bread making on one side and it's woodwork on the other and it's photography on the other, it's putting you into a place where you are the creator, you are the maker, you are the leader, as it were, of your own life. And by virtue of the fact that you're doing that, you're speaking to your spirit, which is and your subconscious, which is helping you go even further in that direction. So that the level of dependency that you have on, let's call it, these institutions, the man, that's significantly reduced by virtue of the fact that you are doing this. And that's what we're trying to say to people, is that's what you need to foster in order to give your individuality, your own sense of self, the opportunity to develop and grow, rather than looking to people over there saying how wonderful they are. Please motivate me. Please help me. I'm beholden to you and I'm dependent on you, which is really pretty pathetic when you think of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and of course, we should close with that. But that's a great way to close this. My last statement will be like, do not allow yourself to be part of a hive mind. Okay, the hive mind is how a drone would work. It's an automaton.
Yeah.
You are here to express that individuality. This is why you're incarnated in a body. Be that as it may, that body is an illusion, that separation is an illusion. We are here to make that separation produce something that will be of value. So do not be a part of the hive mind. Feed that individuality, right? Isn't that what independence is all about anyway?
Absolutely. Happy Independence Day.
That's right. Happy Independence Day.
Every day is Independence Day, as we said at the start.
Every day in every way.
Yeah.
So, thank you, my friend, for all your beautiful insights once again today. And I would say, as we always do, until next week.
Let's be careful out there.
And don't let your mind kill you.
Thanks for listening to Your Mind is Trying to Kill You with Alexandros Megas and Vincent Byrne. If you like our show and want to make sure that you don't miss an episode, then we would love if you would subscribe on Apple Podcasts or on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And you'd be doing us a big favor if you would support us by leaving a review as well. It would also be great if you would take a screenshot of this episode on your smartphone and share it on social media. So join us next Wednesday when we talk more about mind hacking and taking back control of your life. Until then, have a great week.